Greetings and welcome. Thank you for coming. Before we begin, let me take a few moments to give you the obligatory like this video, comment on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and more importantly, share this video with a friend, your bail bondsman, your lawyer, or your cellmate. Let's try and get this channel to 1,000 subscribers before Christmas. While you're at it, be sure to check out my Patreon channel. Consider becoming a subscriber and help keep my editor energized with sushi and sake. Seriously, editors are a large part of what make this world go round in this business. Give them some love. The links are in the video description and in the page description on both YouTube and Rumble. And lastly, a quick shout out to my Tier 3 and 4 patrons. Russ of the Frozen North, Neu5AC, Nick, Zachary Langmead, Scared Wolf 1206, and Zachery Raney. Thank you very much. And now, on with the story. The Deathworlders, a story by Philip R. Johnson, a.k.a. Hambone, Hambone HFY, and Hambone 3110. Chapter 24, An Alien World. Part 9. Date point, 10 years, 4 months, 6 days AV. Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, Earth. Wei Chang. Zhu had gone very small and very quiet. Wei wished he knew how to talk with her, but every conversation they'd tried to have ever since she came back just trailed off. The elephant in the room between them, the confusion of their relative ages in terms of date of birth versus the number of years they had each lived, never got addressed. It was so sad seeing Mom try and pretend like nothing had happened. Dad somehow seemed to be taking things in his stride, but he'd become sad. After the initial joy and worry of Zhu's return, their dad had been behaving like he was mourning something rather than anything else. Wei just felt like there was a stranger living in their house who'd thrown out all of Zhu's old stuff. A quiet, intense stranger who watched things a little too carefully, who flinched at benign sounds, who occasionally spoke the wrong language without noticing. There was still the essential Zhu out there, of course. When she could be induced to smile, she came alive again, and she never became more radiant than when she was talking to this Julian guy. Under the patina that years of being a terrified vagrant in space had painted on her, Zhu could still smile and laugh and play, but Wei had no idea how to get past that patina himself. Their parents were bustling around, making sure the house looked perfectly presentable for their VIP guests, and a couple of men in suits and dark glasses were patrolling the place. When Wei and Zhu had tried to help, they'd just been ordered to stay out of the way and stay presentable. So they were sitting on the couch together, watching the visitors from Gao on TV while Wei trawled his favorite social media, following the trending topics and trying not to rumple his smart clothes. Mom had taken Zhu out shopping, and together they'd found some designer tops that managed to cover all her scars without looking like she was wearing them because they would cover her scars. Zhu kept absent-mindedly trying to roll up the loose sleeves, not noticing that they just fell straight back down again. The general consensus on the net was, 1, that Gowans were, oh my god, so cute. 2, are you fucking kidding me? They really do look like Rocket Raccoon? What the fuck? 3, who are those guys in the army behind the Gowans? They're huge! Some speed artist was already putting out hastily sketched comics of the two aliens with their beef slab bodyguards. They all revolved around the exaggerated size difference and grim expressions on the servicemen's faces as they did things like delicately and intensely apply a band-aid to a grateful Gowan's minor boo-boo. Wei had a nose for these things, and he'd eat his sneakers if these two weren't of the memorable memes of the year. Some of the military enthusiast circles and forums he'd found were tentatively identifying them as part of a unit based on HMNB Folktha. Their uniforms had been sanitized, meaning that they had been cleared of any identifiable unit markings or clues to their identities. The only thing any of the internet enthusiasts could tell about them was that they were both medics. To a man, all of the veterans on those forums were commenting on how they seemed to be practically buoyant and bouncing despite an operating load that must have been pushing 200 pounds, as if they were used to much more than that. As they watched the camera focused on the male Gowan, Regaari, behind whom stood the shorter of the two bodyguards, who chose that exact moment to absent-mindedly conjure a Snickers bar out of one of his pockets and inhale it. The live chat promptly went crazy. "That's Sergeant Ares," Zhu said, pointing to the screen. "He's the one who treated me out of the escape pod." "Yeah?" "Saved my life," Zhu nodded, gnawing on a lip. "He's hot," Wei commented, and for the first time, he succeeded in making Zhu laugh. "What, you're into boys now, little brother?" she asked. "Please, I'm allowed to know these things, like academically," Wei told her. Zhu smiled and went back to watching the screen quietly. Her smile faded again. "Zhu, are you okay?" She shook her head. "No." "Is there anything I can do?" Zhu gave him a surprised look. Tears started welling up, and she savagely got rid of them with a swipe of her hand, muttering something to herself in Gaori. "OHpossum." "Hey?" She raised a splay-fingered hand to reassure him and took a deep, calming breath through her nose. "I'm sorry, Wei." "What for?" I don't know how to cope," she said. "I'm a wreck." Wei shuffled over and put a brotherly arm around her. "I missed you, you know," he said after a while. "We used to fight all the time, didn't we?" She laughed weakly and nodded. "You had your ballet and kung fu movies. I had my games. Not a lot in common except Mom and Dad and living in the same house, and now you're back and we know each other even less." Again, she nodded. "I don't know what I'm saying," Wei confessed. What's wrong? Why aren't you okay?" "I don't know." "You don't know at all?" She sighed and wiped her face again. "Ayma and Regaari were my family out there," she said. "And I ran away from them to keep them safe. And they've come here to Earth to see me." Not knowing what to say, Wei just gave her another squeeze round the shoulders. Zhu just watched the two Gowans deliver brief and neutral speeches of thanks and respect before the press conference broke up. "I guess they're on their way here, then," he observed. Zhu stood up. "Yeah," she agreed. "Yay." "Hey, Zhu?" "Yeah?" "Maybe just try being glad to see them," Wei suggested. She just sighed, shook her head, and vanished upstairs. Date point: 10 years, 4 months, 6 days AV. North Clearwater County, Minnesota, USA, Earth. Kevin Jenkins. Radio wasn't really Kevin's thing, and that went double for country stations. There was only so much Casey Musgraves a man could listen to, after all. Not that this mattered for a modern man. So long as he had his phone, he could listen to whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. "It was obvious you'd end this way to everyone except for you. The signs were there, but living in denial is just something you do. A walk among the ruins, and what's left is a silent testament to ignorant and violent tendencies and stupid rhetoric. In a quarter of a mile, your destination is on the right." He slowed down, frowning, and triple-tapped the middle of his phone screen to pause the music. Quarter of a mile looked like a sizable oblong stand of deciduous forest alone surrounded by open fields of plowed farmland. The road was straight, but the verge wasn't, not perfectly. As he got closer, he saw that the trees had been hiding a gray steel mailbox with the name on the side, Itsicity. It stood at the end of a dirt road, which he spun onto and bounced along, cursing the fact that he was driving a sedan rather than a four-wheel drive. It was a dramatic change. In an instant, he'd gone from open Minnesotan sky to a dungeon of trees, and, for novelty, some more trees. Bright and clear as it was out, here on this track the light was much more subdued, cool, and green as it filtered through the new spring foliage. He was just starting to wonder how long the trail was when it opened up into a cleared area that had been surfaced in packed brown rubble that was almost as good as blacktop. There was a single-story house with a brown panel siding tucked up under the trees, attended by 3 elderly trucks and a rust sculpture of a tractor that had probably once actually been a tractor, long ago. He pulled up somewhere he wouldn't be in the way and heaved himself up out of the car. It wasn't cold out, but Minnesota in April was never going to match a Texan standard for warmth at any hour, so Kevin was glad for his jacket. The front door opened as he approached, and he recognized Julian at Stabity from his file. He was of only average height, but in excellent shape with a broad chest and wary eyes under unruly obsidian hair that clearly only earned his attention when it got into his eyes, being otherwise left to do whatever it liked. He didn't look too great, Kevin decided. Like he hadn't slept properly in a day or two. Certainly his jeans and t-shirt were rumpled and stained, and he was barefoot, exposing the odd composite construction of his prosthetic. Still, fatigue and stress or not, Kevin had seen the way his hand moved before, the nonchalant way that it drifted down on his side slightly so that if he had to go for the survival tomahawk on his belt, he could do so immediately. "What happened to your nose?" he asked. "Said the wrong thing to somebody," Kevin replied. "Julian at Stabity, I presume?" At Stabity didn't relax. "Yeah?" "I'm an old friend of Kirk's, Kevin Jenkins." Julian relaxed. "No shit. Come on in." He unlocked the screen door and shouldered it open. It produced a horrible scratching shriek as he did so. "Sorry, still fixing the place up." "Reminds me," Kevin popped the trunk on his car and grabbed the cooler he'd stashed in there. "My condolences." Julian accepted it with a kind of sad, grateful smile. "That's kind of you, thank you." "Just a few things. Fill the fridge out, you know. I know what it's like." Kevin scolded himself the second he said that. The exact same angle was what had got his nose busted in Vancouver. Fortunately, for all his wariness, Julian at Stabity took the comment for genuine sympathy. He led them both inside. "Excuse the mess." Mess was both an understatement and uncharitable. There was more mail than Kevin would have believed, and it was all over everything. The kitchen work surfaces, the island, the coffee table, the 3 bar stools had all been given over to it. Still, there was organization involved. The papers were neatly stacked and arranged, and there was clearly some kind of filing system involved, an attempt to bring order to chaos. "Geez, that's a lot of paper." "Legal letters. The courts, lawyers for the Red Lake Reservation, lawyers for the county, for the state, the federal attorney handling my grandpa's will, all in conflict." Julian tapped one of the stacks, pulling a slightly panicked face. "Damn." "Yeah, but you didn't come here for my legal problems. Kirk had a lot to say about you. Coffee?" "Yes, please. How much of what he had to say about me was good?" Julian reached over and clicked the kettle to life. "I think you managed to disappoint him, but you know Kirk. If you're human, he likes you automatically." "Do you know what happened to him?" "He should have survived," Julian declared. "Him and Vedrig, they were the first to head for the escape pods. We didn't hear from them after we launched, but, you know, we slept for a couple hours there before starting for home." "Slept?" "Believe me, after what happened to us, falling asleep just seemed to be like the best idea." "Ah!" The exclamation was in response to finding the coffee. "How do you like it?" "Plain black. So, you reckon he's alive?" "Probably," Julian said, spooning out the granules. "But we spent 5 years in that pod. If he was in one of the faster ones, or if he set out in a different course, or both..." The kettle clicked off and he grabbed it to start pouring. "I mean, he could be anywhere, and escape pods are pretty vulnerable to getting picked off by hunters." "Lucky for him that the hunters didn't do a dang thing in those 5 years," Kevin commented. Julian handed him a coffee, quirking his head up slightly. "They didn't?" "Nope. Nobody saw or heard from them for about that long, right up until the Capitol Station attack." "Jesus," Julian handed over the coffee. "What even happened there?" "All I could tell you is I guess the hunters wanted to prove that they're the biggest fish in the pond." "I heard rumors that human starships got involved in the fight," Julian said. Kevin had to wonder if the man knew more than he was letting on and fishing for information. Either way, he was in danger of straying into information that at least one of Kevin's employers didn't think he needed to know. He settled for a shrug and lie of omission. Well, we've got the ships, sure. Me, I'm a mushroom. Julian frowned at him, bewildered, so he elaborated. Kept in the dark and fed on shit. Julian chuckled and cleared off a bar stool for him. Wish I had more to tell you, he said. The last I saw of Kirk, he was going to load Vedrig into a pod, and we should get ready to eject as well. I think he's probably alive. I hope he is, but where and what he's doing? They drank their coffees. So hey, Julian perked up, changing the subject. You're doing well for yourself. Nice car, nice suit. You could afford to drop some groceries on a stranger. I work for Byron Group nowadays, Kevin told him, deciding not to mention his other employers. Biggest name in space, though Hephaestus might disagree. They've got the Allied shipbuilding contracts after all. What's your guys' game? How are you profiting off space? Mr. Byron's big plan is pharmaceuticals and organic materials from other death worlds, Kevin told him. It's a smart idea, too. Antibiotic resistance has really turned into a big health scare these last couple of years. The Cortai want to sell us their disinfectant fields and frontline treatments, but Byron reckons we should be looking for human solutions to the problem. If it still works, though, Julian suggested. Sure. Still, he's right. We don't want to become another client species of the Dominion, do we? I guess not. That was the other half the reason I came down here, Kevin confessed. We need people who know how to survive out there, and from what I hear of you, surviving is kind of your thing. What, as in like an office job? Julian asked. He gestured to the paperwork. Really not my thing. Far from it. Mr. Byron told me he wants you on the crew for Byron Group Exploration Vessel 11, a ship. Number 11? Well, it's the 12th ship the group's built, really, but one of them was a special case. We're learning as we go, and the more people we can get on board with real experience, the better. He stopped at a harsh metallic squeal from the screen door and a knock. Frowning, Julian stood up and opened it. There was a blonde woman standing on the step with her arms folded in a severely pissed-off expression. She looked to be about the same age as Julian, and about the same height, too, and frankly in similarly excellent physical condition. Julian took a surprised step back. Allison?
Phone not switched on at Sissity?
Julian plunged into his pocket and tapped at his phone. Judging from the way its screen remained stubbornly black, it had a flat battery. But it's Tuesday, isn't it? Your plane wasn't supposed to land until tomorrow.
Wednesday! It's Wednesday, Julian. Today is Wednesday. I landed in Minneapolis 5 hours ago.
Fuck. Allison Bueller just nodded.
Uh-huh. Who's this?
This is Kevin. Kevin Jenkins.
Oh, Kirk's big disappointment.
Allison thrust her carry-on bag into Julian's arms and stepped into the house properly.
What happened to your nose?
Kevin tried to ignore the big disappointment jab, stinging though it was. Look, if you two need some privacy.
If Julian screwed up that big, something important must have happened, Allison shook her head.
Behind her, Julian relaxed a bit.
Do you have something to do with it? Is this your paperwork?
Not mine. I'm gonna give you some room anyways. Excuse me. He navigated past her, gave Julian a sympathetic raise of the eyebrows that said, good luck, and discreetly fled to the safety of the car. He checked his nose and decided that he couldn't blame people for commenting. Zhu Chang had done a masterful job of breaking it. He grabbed his phone.
Mr. Moses Byron's office, Rachel speaking.
Hey, Rachel, it's Kevin.
Ah, yes, Mr. Jenkins, putting you through now.
Thanks, Rachel. There was a burst of gentle hold music, and then... Kevin, how was Vancouver? Zhu Chang broke my nose. That's not encouraging, Kevin. My own dumbass fault. She got it in her head that she's home and that's where she's staying, and I pushed a little too hard, Kevin shrugged, even though Byron couldn't see him. But we'll see. I've tracked down at Stabity and Bueller, and I think we might have a hook there. What do you mean, a hook? Byron demanded. Grinning to himself, Kevin explained the idea. Allison Bueller. Once the screen door had howled shut behind Jenkins, Allison granted herself the luxury of a deep breath. At first, she'd been irritated to discover the absence of Julian at the airport. This had swiftly grown into frustration and 3 or 4 outright angry messages left after the tone. In hindsight, she must have looked like a goddess of rage when she was renting the car, and she'd spent the first 2 of the 3 hours she'd been driving from Minneapolis outright furious. Then she'd cooled down a bit, mostly from simple tiredness, and the rest from reasoning that it was unlike Julian to screw up so completely, which meant something serious had happened. The last 50 minutes had been spent worrying that he was all right. While it was a relief to find him present, upright, and profusely apologetic, all right would have been a stretch. She'd never seen him so distressed, nor so disheveled. He'd plainly neglected to sleep or eat properly. His hair was unwashed, and his chin was rough with short hairs. One of the reasons she found Julian so sexy was that usually he projected an air of never being out of his depth. Usually, the only thing that could disrupt his composure was Allison herself. There was a heady feeling of power involved in being able to fluster a man like that. Finding him so badly unsettled when she hadn't been around to cause it was so alarming that she completely gave up on being angry at him. God, Al, I'm so sorry. I don't know how the fuck that happened. She silenced him with a sweet, short kiss. Hey, it's okay. What is all this anyway? Julian cleared his throat and scratched at his eyebrow. Legal letters. Allison picked one up and read it. Its contents were so arcane and vague as to introduce an immediate headache, but the words inheritance, property, and dispute stood out. Oh no. They're disputing your grandpa's will. Everyone is, Julian nodded miserably, sliding up onto one of the bar stools and running his fingers through his hair. Why? Oh boy. He cast helplessly around at all the paperwork and heaved a huge breath out. Where do I start? Okay, so it turns out that Grandpa never really got along with the tribal elders at Red Lake. Why? 'Cause he was Navajo. I don't think that's it. No. Might be. I don't know. I never met them, Julian shrugged. So that's problem 1. Problem 2 is there's a question mark over where exactly the reservation's boundaries even are, and whether this patch falls inside or outside them. Why does that matter? Because Grandpa filed his will with the federal government as if this was reservation land, but if it's not, then it's not clear if the will's even valid. So the states got involved here, and the feds, and, oh yeah, let's not forget my mom. What about her? Well, okay. Say the will's not valid, but the house is on reservation land. In that case, the property is divided equally amongst all Grandpa's descendants. That'd be me, but also Mom and my half-sisters, and they're all over in the Netherlands. Allison leaned against the fridge. Wait, what? Don't even start. It all has to do with the Dawes Act and fractionation, and Julian trailed off, scowled, and gave up. Look, I've not even read half of it yet. I think the AIM's probably involved too. Plus, of course, there's Grandpa's criminal record. Criminal? Oh, right. Draft dodging. Julian nodded. He studied a letter, then set it neatly on top of one of the piles. Claims and counterclaims and challenges and all of this shit's been bubbling away for 3 years, he said. Nobody's been arguing my side. It's a mess, and I don't know how to even begin navigating it. Almost sounds like it's not even worth it, Allison commented. Julian straightened and looked at her questioningly. I mean,
We're going into space again, aren't we? I know this place means a lot to you, but if you're not here to look after it...
Julian gave a long, thoughtful breath out through his nose and scratched at his stubble. What are we fighting for? He asked. I mean, if we're going to head back out there, why? What are we trying to do?
Get the hell away from Earth, you know that,
Allison insisted. Yeah, I know. You feel valuable out there. I do too. I want to achieve something with my life too, and I couldn't just sit idle, not when I know what's out there.
But,
Allison prompted. But, I mean, come on, Al. You've got to have something you care about on Earth, or you wouldn't care about trying to protect it. Allison folded her arms at her waist.
Do I?
Yeah, you do. Julian stood up and rubbed her shoulders. You're not doing it for the fame, are you? She made a scoffing noise.
What fame?
Exactly, Julian agreed. But what do you mean by achieving something if it doesn't have to do with Earth, or at least with some of the people living on it? Feeling annoyed at herself for doing so even as she did it, Allison curled into herself a little more and looked away from him.
Sure, whatever. Maybe I do have something, but does that change anything? Sometimes you gotta let go, Julian.
He frowned. You okay?
Yeah, she sighed, looking at him in the eye, and almost lied to him. Yeah, I'm fine, and you're right, I guess. She gestured to mount paperwork. For what fighting this is going to cost, you could just buy a new place. I know it wouldn't be a grandpa's, but, I mean, even if you spent all that money fighting to keep this place, you might not win.
True, Julian conceded reluctantly.
And you said yourself you want to go back into space.
Also true.
And if you do, you won't be able to look after this place, even if you hold on to it.
Julian put a palm to his forehead and rubbed it firmly down his face. Allison, for fuck's sake. She paused and took a good look at him, then at all the accumulated keepsakes and history around him.
This place really means that much to you, huh?
Yeah, it does. She chewed a lip thoughtfully, then found some resolve and nodded.
Okay.
Julian's head bobbed uncertainly. Okay?
If it means that much to you, fight it. I've got your back, I promise.
Julian sagged, relieved, then smiled a grateful nod before kissing her. Thank you. She nodded and managed a tight smile.
Maybe we should see what that Jenkins guy wants.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am the Casual Deathworlder, your host, and this has been The Deathworlders, Chapter 24, Part 9. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. If you did, please smash those like and subscribe buttons and drop us a comment down below. Even better, consider going over to Patreon and donating to my editor's pizza and beer fund. Speaking of which, thank you very much, buddy. I couldn't do this without you.
Okay, question, who's got the question? I know.
Who all is excited for Avatar 3 to come out? I know I am. Avatar 2 was an absolute masterpiece, and I think 3 will only be better. Actually, can't wait until they get to, I believe he's planning to do 5 in all. Mind you, at the rate he's going, it'll probably be another 40 years before they're finished, but I can't wait for it. But I'd love to see Avatar 3. Okay, leave your answers in the comments down below. Until next time, be safe, be well. I love you all. Bye-bye.